where other distillates are produced, because that type of product is valued in Oaxaca, Jalisco, and, of course, Mexico City, reports Pico. In the United States it is sold in Texas and California mainly, and there is an emerging market, constantly growing, in Arizona, New York, Colorado and Illinois. The problem that many see in the Sotol industry in Mexico is that the U.S. is no longer merely a consumer and has begun to produce, although still in a very focused way, specifically in Texas. And it is that Sotol, unlike tequila and mezcal, is not recognized as a distinctive drink of Mexico by the North American Free Trade Agreement NAFTA. Who has the right to produce? In January, Sandro Canovas stood outside a distillery in Marfa, Texas, with a megaphone in his hand and yelled, "Sotol is Mexican. Boy, these cultural vultures. Don't support the thieves." And he distributed some papers to customers and onlookers that read, "Keep in mind that Marfa Spirit Company operates daily under these premises. A. Cultural appropriation. B. Flagrant disregard for the appellation of origin that belongs to Chihuahua, Durango and Coahuila in Mexico. C. No commitment or actions or programs towards sustainability in the production of its spirits." Founded in 2021 by Morgan Weber, with extensive experience in the restaurant sector and leading bars specialized in Mexican liquors, Marfa Spirit Company is one of the companies that is producing distillate from distilleries in Texas. They are stealing cultural heritage, one of the oldest tangible traditions in the northern region of Mexico, along with adobe. He is adobero, and taking the business away from the Mexican teachers who have done this for generations, he tells BBC Mundo. Activist Canovas began to raise his voice on the issue at different events. Speaking with sotoleros and other members of the industry, he knocked on the door of the authorities. Soon a confederation of Mexican producers, the Grupo de Sotoleros El Potrero del Llano, published a statement condemning several Texas distilleries for using the word Sotol on their products. Chihuahuan authorities held a series of meetings on the protection of Sotol production in the state, as the conversation reached the citizens. And in its February 17 edition, the newspaper Hechos de Chihuahua published this headline on its front page: "Without respecting the appellation of origin, Texas produces Sotol." Asked about the position of the Sotol Regulatory Council on the matter, its president, Efrain Maldonado, is blunt. "The denomination of origin rule is clear. What is produced in the three territories Chihuahua, Coahuila and Durango can be called Sotol, what is produced outside cannot. It can be any other liquor, distilled, but it cannot be called, say, Sotol." Weber, the owner of Marfa Spirit Company, who teamed up with Jacobo Yaquez, from veteran Sotol Don Celso, to make his product, defends himself by referring to exactly that. "The denomination of origin says nothing about the use of the plant to make a drink," he tells BBC Mundo. "It would be crazy if you had access to grapes, someone told you that you can't make sparkling wine. You can. It's another thing to call it champagne. And I have access to Sotol plants. For this reason, although the old labels of its bottles read Chihuahuan Desert Sotol, the most recent ones say Far West Texas Desert Spirit, to which is added that it is made with 100% Sotol. It's important to honor tradition, and we don't call it Sotol out of respect, we call it desert liquor. But federal regulations require that the ingredients be included on the label, so we have to put that it comes from the Sotol plant, as is commonly known. Calls him, he explains. They criticize us a lot, that we are violating the appellation of origin, which we do not do. We do everything with respect, he insists. However, other companies still call their spirits Texas Sotol. Maldonado sees it as difficult to stop producing on the other side of the border and believes that the future will involve integrating U.S. distilleries into the existing industry. Perhaps at some point, after the Mexican state and federal authorities can touch base with the United States authorities, and if we find a mechanism that is also beneficial for the industry here, then perhaps we could sit down and negotiate it, add. Meanwhile, It continues to work on ordering the industry so that small sotoleros can also certify their distillate and benefit from the appellation of origin, and on joining forces with entities from Coahuila and Durango. The market is growing and there is a growing need for the dissemination of technology for plantations, says Dr. Olivas, and also that the public finds out about the quality, the origin and what the Sotol technically, culturally, socially and economically represents. It is important that people know everything that is behind a glass of Sotol, he added during the Festival del Agave, precisely in Marfa. The cup that, in their town, they drink early, to make the morning. Sotol was first mass-produced in Mexico in the 1930s, when it developed a similar reputation as moonshine north of the border. Step aside, tequila and mezcal. There's a new, but actually very old, drink in town. Sotol is a spirit made from the Sotol plant Dacilerium wheeleri, which grows in the deserts of northern Mexico as well as the southern U.S. states of Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona. The Sotol plant is a close relative of the agave, and the beverage distilled from it has been gaining in popularity over the past several years on both sides of the border. Some industry experts claim the drink's popularity will eventually surpass that of mezcal and tequila. Commercially speaking, it's where mezcal was 10 years ago, Ricardo Pico, vice president of the Certifying Council of Sotol told BBC World. Notable for its clear pour, herbal, smooth taste, and easy drinkability, Sotol has gained many new fans over the past several years. It can be consumed straight, but also makes a good base for cocktails. The heart of the plant, which grows on the end of a long stem in its center, is traditionally roasted in an earthen oven, then pressed to remove the sap before being fermented. While Sotol can be aged to bring out more complex flavors, it is not always part of the process. There is archaeological evidence in both present-day Mexico and Texas of the cultural importance of the Sotol plant that goes back 7,000 years. More recently, the Raramuri tribe of Chihuahua, Mexico, are believed to have made a beer-like beverage using the plant starting approximately 800 years ago. When the Spanish began colonizing the region in the 16th century, they introduced the distillation process, making Sotol what it is today. Sotol was first mass-produced in Mexico in the 1930s, when it developed a similar reputation as moonshine north of the border. The Mexican government outlawed its production in 1944, not lifting the ban until 1994, after the signing of the North American Free Trade Agreement NAFTA. In 2002, the Mexican government granted the beverage a designation of denomination of origin (DO), meaning that only Sotol produced in the states of Durango, Chihuahua, and Coahuila can rightly be labeled as Sotol. Similar examples are champagne and scotch. The DO designation is recognized by the World Intellectual Property Organization. However, when the new U.S.-Mexico-Canada Agreement (USMCA) came into effect in 2020, Sotol did not receive the denomination of origin protection enjoyed by tequila and mezcal. In fact, it was removed last minute out of fear that it would hurt producers in Texas. As the beverage gets more attention, the debate about spirits made from local varieties of Sotol plants in Texas and whether they should be labeled and marketed as Sotol has heated up. Texas producers maintain that because the plant grows in their backyard, and they are using the same or similar techniques to produce it, then they should be allowed to continue to do so while maintaining the drink's name. A few vocal Mexican producers and activists believe that Mexico's DO should be respected, for cultural reasons and economic ones. But Mexican sotoleros like Jacobo Jaquez of Sotol Don Celso see increased visibility of the beverage as a boon to both sides of the border. Jaquez, who collaborates with Texas Sotol producer Marfa Spirit Company, told Texas Monthly, "Sotol is a heritage that we share.